Okay, so let's get back to the story. Intro 2-2.2. No battle. It's been 2 days since Rasputin, the pseudo-servant, attacked. The Chaldeans are currently on their way to the Lost Belt in Scandinavia. Everything is so white. The words blank slate have never seemed so appropriate. It's like the entire surface has been reset. Nothing but pure white wherever you look. Everything's gone. Nature, civilization, even the flora and fauna have completely disappeared. No, not disappeared. It's more like they've all been burned away. All there is to see in every direction is a pure white plain. Though there were a few topographical exceptions along the way. It looked like the remains of some buildings, but they appear to have been warped by extreme heat or destroyed in some kind of shockwave. Whatever the cause, upon closer inspection, one could see that these had once been man-made structures of some kind. This led to Ritzinon and her allies stepping out of the shadow border to investigate further. The atmospheric composition was normal. The air was breathable, and the gravity was the same as before. There was no need for a hazard suit or spacesuit or anything of the sort. Good thing you didn't have to go get all dressed up like an astronaut, huh? Said Leonardo da Vinci with a Kirby's smile. Look, Senpai, you can see them up ahead. Buildings. Oh. They look funky. It looks like even the buildings have been bleached. That explains why you couldn't see them at a distance. Those are buildings, right? If there are any survivors here, we should bring them back to the border as soon as... She trailed off all of a sudden. Probably because what she saw was beyond anything she could have imagined. No one could blame her. Anyone else would have been agape at the bizarre sight before them. The color had been drained out of everything. Some parts of the buildings even looked as though they had been rubbed away with an eraser. The whole thing looked like some bizarre postmodern art exhibit, and was made all the more baffling by being in the middle of a bleached desert. There were no signs of life anywhere, not even the remains of what had once been alive. It all looked so sterile, especially for ruins. It was the sort of thing you'd only see in dreams. Everyone back on the border seeing it on the monitors must have thought they were looking at footage from an alien planet. Let's go in. There might still be something inside. And from what I've heard, it's assumed that LB2 was written by Sakurai, the same person who wrote Shimosa, London, and Septon. She also wrote the prototype prequel, Fragments of Blue and Silver, something like that. And it kind of makes sense when you look back on Shimosa, because she's very fond of all these monologues and stuff. No, not monologues, rather narration. Earth had changed. It had been completely bleached, a planet now totally devoid of life, with the exception of the Lost Belts. But even when it had been reset to a blank slate, there were still some places, some buildings, some life forms that had survived. Caldi had decided to call these remnants. Today was the first contact they had with these sort of remnants, these buildings that had been left behind on this newly blank earth. Despite the new director's pessimistic outlook, the other staff couldn't ignore the possibility, however slight, that there might still be other survivors. But even though they never did find any other people, their investigation wasn't for nothing. Because they did find signs of life, signs that someone had survived all this and had been here before them. Here, near the Scandinavian Lost Belt, in what used to be Helsinki, the capital of Finland. That poor couch. Were signs in these buildings that someone, somewhere, was still alive. Signs that someone had been living here for days, weeks, maybe even months. Empty bottles, piles of canned food, the remains of a communication device that someone had clearly spent a great deal of effort trying to repair. There was even something that looked like a doll lying on the floor, a sign that a young child had been among the survivors. Aww. And above all, they found something that had clearly been left behind with intent. According to this journal, it looks like somebody was here as recently as 2 days ago. The last entry is dated the day before yesterday. It looks like there were 6 survivors at first, but over time, their numbers gradually dwindled until... RIP. In the end, whoever wrote this journal must have been the last one to disappear. Where could have they all gone? Unfortunately, though, whoever wrote the journal had excellent penmanship. Oh wait. Unfortunately, though whoever wrote the journal had excellent penmanship, it was in a language that Ritsunon could not read. English? Never mind. It could have been Finnish, or maybe Swedish. Either way, it may as well have been Greek to Ritsunon. Because you know, Japanese high school student. Why did this happen to our planet? Why do these invaders from another world hate humanity so much? If nothing else, those final questions written on the last pages were clear. Why? 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 That is all these people could ask, even as they were wiped away, almost as though they were being punished for seeking meaning in their crisis. It's time, Master. Let's head back to the border. We're almost to Sweden now. You should rest up for the coming battles. As they left the remnants behind, one thought haunted each and every one of them. Nowhere was there so much as... what? Nowhere was there so much as a trace of blood, a hint of violence. An alien abduction? Soon, the shadow border will enter the second Lost Belt. Will it be a hellish wasteland inhospitable to life? Or perhaps... There's the storm. So that's what those storm walls look like from the outside. Yep, finally about to take the plunge into the Scandinavian Lost Belt. And not because we have no other choice like with Russia. This time, we chose to do it ourselves. As you all saw, there's a tree of emptiness here as well. Though at this distance, it looks more like a faint pillar of light than a tree. Oh, is it that thing on top? Yes, quite so. We may not know what it's like on the inside, but we do know exactly what we need to do. This is a lost belt, a place carved out of history different from our own. There's no telling what horrors may await us there. But once we cut down that tree of emptiness thingamabob, the lost belt will return to its original state, and the storm wall will disappear. Yep. But I think we should put this particular tree of emptiness investigation off until later. Our priority is to slip through Scandinavia and get to the Wandering Sea. Depending on what it's like in there, we might be able to just ignore the lost belt. Highly doubtful. That's where the plot is. If we're going to invade this place, we should do so after we've improved our offensive options at the Wandering Sea. It won't do for Ritsun and Mash to be the only two ever risking their necks on the front lines. I just hope that transmission really was from the Wandering Sea. So, what now? I thought the storm walls were impenetrable. That we can penetrate using the Shadow Border's primary function. Zero sail? Yeah. That storm is approximately 2 kilometers wide, so we will cross it via a zero sail. You mean we're going to dive back into void space? Come now. Surely I'm not the only one who was wildly uncomfortable seeing his soul leave his body, was I? I mean, is it just me, or looking down at your own body in third person a truly unsettling experience? You're just gonna have to deal, Gordolf. It's true, it's Putin. Right? If I'd known this was on the agenda, I would have had a much lighter breakfast. Of course it makes us all feel sick. But you're the commander now, yeah? So freaking suck it up, would you? Honestly, I've gotten used to it. I mean, a short hop through void space is nothing compared to a ray shift. Not that I've ever ray shifted before myself, of course. Gah. Now don't you start talking back to me, Munir. Ray shifts may shift. Clearly, the Zero Sail program that began under my new administration is a far more impressive achievement. I don't know, going back to points in time in doing stuff is pretty impressive. Holmes, Da Vinci, prepare the Shadow Border for takeoff. Indeed, Gordolf. I, for one, am truly inspired after your little speech. And well done on your part, Mr. Menier. That will be one less thing to worry about during our dive. Okay, places everyone. Time to strap in for today's out-of-body experience. The good news is, we're not going to dive as deeply as we did last time. We're just going to skim under the surface, so to speak, so that we stick to the reality-based space-time and distance as closely as possible. We have to do it like that, since we don't have anything tying us to Scandinavia. It'll be like a split-second dive into a two-dimensional plane. Think of it like going scuba diving without an oxygen tank. We just need to hold our breath for a little bit while we make our way through the wall. All set, Ritsunan? You do know we'll be setting foot in another brand new world soon, right? Let's go where no man has gone before. Again! Got it. Okay then, let's go see what's on the other side of this wall. Yeah. Expanding Void Reality Observation Device. Paper Moon. Destination? Southern Sweden, near Norrköping. Oh boy, I just know that these names are going to kill me. Norrköping, since it's a double R. expanding logic formula on Shadow Border's external armor, removing existence verification for reality space. Future prediction: hypothetically prove mirror world plane in 20 seconds, relaxing spacetime friction decompression for 0.4 seconds. All systems are green. Void space may be a calm sea, but as always, don't forget to watch out for big waves. Shadow Border, untether from reality. Void space dive, zero sail, unfurl. Gonna get that cool animation again? Yep. Let's go. Assault of the Demonic Sword. Section 1. Assault of the Demonic Sword. Beginning. Who is this? I've always hated Sundays. Aw, look at that girl. Also, new CGs and stuff. Actually, let me just try out something. Oh, there we go. Is it because I hate my father? Sorry. Is it because I hate my father? No. Is it because I hate my mother? No, it's not that either. When I was little, I wholeheartedly embraced their dreams for me. I really thought everything they talked about would come true. I didn't need to hate them. I didn't even need much in the way of paternal love from them. I believed that I would one day reach the sixth imaginary element, just as they wanted. I would be the one to make my family's long-held dream come true. I had gained the power I needed to accomplish that. Oh man, mage families. Always so dysfunctional, like always. Poor girl. But even so, I hated Sundays. Detested them, even. I loathed having to spend all day Sunday at home. The home I grew up in, with my parents. From the time I woke up until the time I went to bed, it felt as though that giant ceiling was crushing me to death. So it's only on Sundays that she met her parents or something? I don't hate my parents. I respect them. I'm proud of them. That much has never changed. But you also secretly resent them for not being real parents. So then, what did I hate about Sundays? Report from the computer room. Report from the computer room. So far, this Zero Shell is looking just peachy. Just kick back and enjoy this little voyage through the sea of time. We've got 150 kilometers to cross. At our current reduced speed, I think it should take us about an hour or so. Oh. Puppy face. Oh. Uh-oh. Somebody not happy about this trip. What happened to all that bluster you were spouting just a little while ago? I know this is only our second voyage, but you should be used to this by now. Am I wrong, Gordolf? Oh, yes. Did you need something, technical advisor? Is it tea time already? something you're worried about, Commander? Of course not. I wouldn't waste time on foolish sentiment. I thought I would feel better after we defeated the servant who destroyed Chaldea, but I don't. At all. My poor flesh. They were the finest private army I ever had. They may have been a bunch of thugs and hoodlums, but they did their job damn well. After this whole mess is sorted out, I'll need to pay out their life insurance. Once I can scrap together more than a penny to my name, of course. That said, this way of getting around really is beyond the pale. I'm a man of the land, not the sea. Not that I hesitate to board a submarine to save humanity, of course. But this? I may be better about seasickness now, but I don't think I'll ever get used to this zero-sail nonsense. So you still feel bad even though you're not seasick? Are you claustrophobic or something? Oh? No, I'm not claustrophobic. I mean that I don't care for this void space business. It's not something I'm just going to get used to. Let me be clear. Getting used to danger means losing sight of security. Oversights, betrayals, bankruptcy. Victories getting revoked by judges. All those sorts of retribution stem from carelessness and arrogance. You can't assume everything will be sunshine and roses just because things happen to go your way once. That's true. Not to mention, verifying the existence of void space may be a great fit, I'll admit, but be honest. You still don't have a clue what it even is, do you? Why are you looking at me? I make it a rule to never get on any machine I can't drive myself, and yet... Void space is only it's something only a tiny handful of mages have ever so much as touched. Just thinking about floating around in there makes me... Oh no, I think I'm going to be sick. You say that, and yet your complexion tells me that you're feeling just fine. Gordolf? No, Mr. Gordolf. I admire your gumption. The rest of the staff are equally versed in science and magecraft, but you, Director, are a mage's mage. That is why traveling to void space puts you so ill at ease. You are keenly aware of both the benefits and risks posed by the zero sail. Yet despite that, you are doing your utmost to remain calm and collected. That is truly keeping a stiff upper lip, as they say. Commendable. You must have hit rock bottom quite a few times in your life. Perhaps you're accustomed to being in dire predicaments at this point? I'm accustomed to nothing of the sort. I never once crossed the finish line in last place, I have you know. Crossed the finish line in last place? I've never heard of an expression like that before, Director Gordolf. Well, of course you haven't. Once you get to be a man of my caliber, Mrs. Mash, even the expressions you use take on a special life of their own. Sure. Oh. That's the first time he's ever addressed me respectfully. That's Holmes' way of complimenting you, Director. I think so too. Mr. Holmes only ever speaks about what he is certain of, after all. Haha, you got that right. That's a hell of a nice way to put it, Mash. Oh, I see. So that's what that was about. He's blushing. If you both say so, you may be right. Fofo! Him. By the way, technical advisor, what's our itinerary for this voyage look like? Huh? Director Gordolf, Da Vinci just briefed us about that right after we arrived in void space. Did he back out? Oh. I'm so sorry, Mr. Gordolf. We had no idea you had lost consciousness with your eyes open. What? Come now, don't be absurd. I've handled the G-forces from accelerating to over 250 kilometers per hour, I'll have you know. I say, what about you, youngster? Yes, you, Ritsunan. Your file said you frequently fall into REM sleep. I believe it even said I could do it standing up, if I'm not mistaken. Is that some special skill of yours? No, that's just me falling asleep into plot. That's right. We call it the Ritsunan REM. Huh? No way. I was just kidding about the skill part. Are you people alright? At any rate, it seems you doze off just as easily as I do. Do you remember what the briefing was about? Perhaps now would be a good time to review all that you know while we are at it. Yes, that's a good point. I'm sorry. Oh, but as for Senpai, I think she went off to have lunch with Foe after we left on the Zero Sail. Ha 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 ha. You heard the man, Da Vinci. Would you be so kind as to summarize our current situation for him? Sure, if that's what he wants. Okay, let's go over our immediate itinerary again. We've just entered the Scandinavian peninsula, right around here. At the moment we're still diving through the storm wall. On our current route, we should then emerge here in Northern Europe, at the southern part of Sweden. It's only a 10-kilometer trip, but since we don't have any connection to Scandinavia, surfacing at our intended destination will come down to a combination of a dice roll and my navigational genius. Pull a d20. And since I've got my hands full of making sure our coordinates don't go fluctuating all over, we have no way of knowing if there will be any hostile entities on the other side. And there probably will be, because that's just how it works. So be ready for an even rougher emergence than the one we went through in Russia. So in other words, entering one of these lost belts inevitably comes down to the luck of the draw, huh? Just to make doubly sure, is there any way we could ignore the Scandinavian lost belt and head straight to the North Sea? Certain conditions need to be in place for us to emerge inside the lost belt, right? Then why go out of our way to do that? Even if we don't know the Wandering Sea's exact coordinates, if we can just get to the North Sea... I know, but I'm afraid that's just not possible. We're currently skimming right next to the border between reality space and void space. It's the only way we can peek into reality from void space, which we have to do if we're going to emerge somewhere we lack a connection to. In addition, the amount of power the shadow border consumes in this mode is directly affected by the amount of real-world distance we travel. I mean, it would have to be, given that we're following reality so closely. And at our current bar levels, there's no way the border can zero sail more than 300 kilometers near the mirror world plane. So we have to emerge in the Scandinavian lost belt if you're going to stock up for the journey to the Wandering Sea. I see. This zero sail business sounds good on paper, but it certainly has more than its share of drawbacks, doesn't it? Basically, if you want to go diving and emerging wherever we like, yes. Well, we can't. Neither the border nor myself are up to that, at least not right now. Sorry, Gordy. Grr. Sorry, and sixpence won't even get you a decent cup of tea these days. Fine, you're saying you want a real map with full facilities, right? Once you make our way to Scandinavia and meet up with the Wandering Sea, things should improve at least a little, yes. You got it. I'm glad it's such a quick study. So, as I was saying earlier, just get back and enjoy the last bit of our voyage. We're currently off from real world time by about 10 days. We'll emerge from void space as soon as we're through with the storm wall. So it's just like what happened in Russia. Then, that would mean one of those enormous trees really is here in Scandinavia too. Indeed, we could see it for ourselves before we began our journey through the storm wall. If we just so happen to emerge near the Tree of Emptiness, we'll need to choose between leaving the Scandinavia behind or investigating the tree. Regardless, we'll no doubt need to make our way across a considerable bit of land once we reach the inside of this lost belt. I encourage you all to remain calm and in control, so that we may better react wherever awaits us. I wonder if it's like Russia. They're both icy, I guess. Although, when the Russian Tree of Emptiness came crashing down, it did so in a rather indecipherable... what was that? Is something coming towards us? Something's pinging on our omnidirectional sonar. What the? There's something with a fixed wavelength moving around? Something with a fixed wavelength? Do you mean there's something else here besides the shadow border? Wait, what? Hold on, just hold on. You mean to tell me there's something alive out there? In void space? Fafau? Indeed. Under normal circumstances, nothing could possibly exist in void space, unless it were itself composed of void. There are exceptions though. Namely, the all-terrain Void Transporter's shadowboard, its crew, and the Paper Moon. So basically us. And that can only mean there's someone or something else that can travel via zero sail? If there were, it would require technology that surpasses Atlas's. I wish I could say that were entirely impossible, but we can't rule it out. Da Vinci, are you seeing anything on your end? Your eyes should be a good deal sharper than ours. I'm sorry, but I've got my hands full keeping track of the real world's terrain. I can't spare any cameras to see what might be near us. Oh, but I have noticed one thing that's strange. The shadowboard has been running really smoothly for a while now. So there's definitely something out there in our vicinity. I just couldn't tell you what it is. The board has also got magecraft and spirit radars in addition to the sonar, but they're not turning anything up either. Since I can't imagine there could be anything living in void space, I'm guessing it's using solid-like wave conduction, but... We... Director Gordolf? We're under attack! Oh, who was it saying that the old man had gotten used to this stuff? It must be some sort of monster or serpent with the ability to zero sail. They could be anywhere. Yes, that's a distinct possibility. Rasputin mentioned something along those lines too. As I recall, he said that while he was unable to freely move between lost belts, Koyanskaya could do so. It's difficult to imagine she employs the same method that we do, but she may well have her own means of crossing dimensions. There, you see! You all saw Ivan the Terrible for yourselves. These lost belts are obviously full of monsters. It wouldn't surprise me at all if one of them was a rider with just that sort of skill. Is this foreshadowing something? Do you even hear yourself? This is void space. This whole dimension shouldn't even exist. There's no way there could be anything here besides the border. And that's where you're wrong. A creature or a heroic spirit with the ability to conduct a zero sale, huh? I know Mrs. Miyamoto wanders between parallel worlds, but only in that she tumbles from one to another. She's only a drifter who keeps falling through realities because all other possibilities have abandoned her. There is no being in all of reality space beside us who can freely travel between dimensions. That, at least, was what Atlas Institute the Trimegistus said as of 2018. Still, it's not something we can rule out entirely. That we are here ourselves means that it must be possible for someone to be as well. Couldn't you have kept that to yourself, Holmes? You're just gonna work the old man up even more. Phone? Did it just get even closer? Please calm down, Director. I know this may not help put your mind at ease, but I think I sense something close. Is it something we've seen before? No, I don't think so. But strangely enough, I also don't think that whatever it is malicious. In fact, I think it might even be kind of warm and comforting. Oh, come on. That's standard demon operating procedure. They bait their hook with kindness. Well, I'm not falling for it. I'm going to listen to my own instincts. Listen up, all of you. I have no desire to become an adventure-crazed nut like the rest of you. But even I see that making an emergency exit out of void space is our best option here. Therefore, as the director of Caldia, I'm ordering the Shadow Border to make an immediate emergency exit into a reality space. An emergency exit? I want to take Mash's side here, but I have to admit Gordolf has a point. One thing's for sure, there's something out there that even I can see. We shouldn't take that lightly. So my vote is for the emergency exit, and as luck would have it, we're very close to the end of the storm wall. That said, there's one thing I want to go over first. We've already crossed the border. We're currently in what used to be southern Sweden, somewhere inside the Scandinavian Lost Belt. But when we emerge, the risks will be even greater than they were back in Russia. Cutting out the future predictions in order to force our way back to reality could result in the entire Shadow Belt coming apart. Lovely. And it's not just the border. All of you could end up seriously hurt as well. If yourselves from 10 days ago happen to overlap with yourselves from now, just having your body catch up with their regulatory functions will be enough to make you vomit. Ugh. Are you okay if that ends up happening? Of course. As this vehicle's central processing unit, I'll be doing my best to avoid that. Of course. At this point a little nausea is nothing. Just get us the hell out of here, Da Vinci. I don't want to spend another second with this unknown thing if I can help it. I'm responsible for all of your lives here. As such, I refuse to continue a voyage in such a close proximity to an unknown entity. Oh, what was that? Get the Shadow Border to the surface right now. Don't make me repeat myself again. Just hurry. Wait, why did Holmes go? Oh, is it because he said that he's responsible for our lives or something? Alrighty. If you're ready to face the music, I'll do my best to make sure it's a pleasant tune. Meneer, I'm going to switch over to manual. We don't want the safety functions putting on the brakes on autopilot. Are you serious? Doesn't that completely go against the manufacturer's recommendation? Initiating high-speed calculations. Preparing to emerge in... Uh-oh. An emergency alert? Everyone, strap in. Take deep breaths while you still can. Don't worry about that alert. We're just putting a little more strain on the hull than it's designed for. Isn't that dangerous? Yeah, isn't that incredibly dangerous? Da Vinci knows what she's doing. I hope. Right. You're right. I believe in her, senpai. Phew. I really didn't want to resort to this since it gives me a bad fever. This new, smaller body just isn't as resilient as my old one. I'll do whatever I can to help. Patch me into the console, if you would. I'll help too. Thank you. I'm afraid I'm relegated to learning by observation myself, but the more hands the better. If only Mr. Babash were here to assist us. I hear you, but I'm afraid the Spirit Origin briefcase alone just isn't enough to summon him outside of short battles. We'll just have to make do. Man, wouldn't it be great if another Salieri dropped into our labs right now? Like, say, now? Damn, it didn't work. Oh well, worth a shot. Guess we're on our own after all. Alright then, let's do this thing. Activating Paper Moon. Initiating Planet Navigational Chart +- Convergence. Commencing Shadow Border's docking sequence into Reality Border. Disengaging Mirror World Plane Voyage. Though the stratum may dissolve, I continue to exist. Reapplying Time Flow Attraction from Reality Space. 0.4 seconds difference between target coordinates and current recognition confirmed. That's well within tolerances, so we are good to go. Well, I guess that's Da Vinci talking. Emerging from void space. 30 seconds until arrival at reality space. Zero sail complete. Emerging into reality space. Last spell 2. The Eternal Icy Fire Century. Gotterdanerang. The Good Fellow of Everlasting Fire. That's a mouthful. Is that fire? Well, I guess it makes sense with the title, but... Fighting a Zerker? Why not? Stargazer's Journey. Oh! It's actually good. Let's just make a party.